Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video of political science and international relations. As you can suggest, the topic of this lecture will be studying about the Cold War, its background, historical origins, introduction, and how the world eventually got divided into two big power blocks after the ending of the Second World War. The world after the World War II experienced a new and another war, which was not a hot war but a cold war. The world that emerged after the ending of the World War began its way towards a bipolarity. Now we'll make our minds and concepts clear on some small basic terms of international relations, which are of immense importance in understanding and grasping the world wars. So, whenever we take into consideration the terms such as unipolar world, bipolar, and what is multipolarity, we have a concept in mind that what is unipolarity, bi, and multipolarity. So, in order to comprehend the concepts of World War, first we need to understand the key concepts and terms which are related to World War, such as like what is polarity. Now, this polarity in international relations is an in like in any of the various ways in which like power is distributed within the international system. It describes the nature of international system at any given period of time. One can generally distinguish four types of system, like unipolarity, bipolarity, tripolarity, and multipolarity. तो मतलब the type of system is completely dependent on the distribution of power and authority and influence of the state in a region or also in globally concept. ठीक है तो unipolarity unipolar system that possesses only one great power and faces no competition, and even if a competitor emerges, the international system is no longer than unipolar. ठीक है then the power gets distributed among two or three states, and then it according to the distribution of power तो फिर वो state को ये globally context में define करता है whether if it's a multipolarity, bipolarity और तो मतलब this polarity basically in international relations refers to the arrangement of powers within the international system globally. So this concept arose from bipolarity during the Cold War era, with the international system dominated by the conflicts between the superpowers. क्योंकि कोल्ड वॉर में there were two power blocks, ठीक है. One was the USA and USSR. So the term bipolar was notably used by the Stalin, who was a premier of the Soviet Union, and he was the one who saw the international system as a bipolar one, the one like with two opposing power bases and ideologies. क्योंकि USA की उस टाइम capitalist ideology थी, USSR was with the communist ideology, and then later with the collapse of Soviet Union in 1991, that led to the ending of the Cold War, and then it led to somewhat which we would call a unipolar world, क्योंकि USA emerged हो गया था as a sole superpower. So consequently the international system, like if we talk about before the era period of 1945, like prior to 1945, can be described as a multipolar, क्योंकि World War One था, there were a lot of great powers. ठीक है, power was being shared among great powers. Then similarly multipolarity is also मतलब it's a similar concept that power, that the international system, it is in which power is shared among more than two states. ठीक है, तो मल्टीपोलैरिटी हो जाती है. these concepts are also defined in international relations as the balance of power. ठीक है, मतलब इंटरनेशनल ग्लोबल सिस्टम को स्टेट्स ने बैलेंस किया हुआ है. एंड अब जो हम न्यू वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर भी देखते हैं, लाइक देयर आर सो मच बिग पावर्स है. हमारे अभी जो करंट सिनेरियो है, सो बैलेंस ऑफ पावर है. ठीक है, पावर इज़ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड अमंग अ लॉट ऑफ बिग नेशंस. ठीक है, and there's also another concept like hegemony, which means that the leadership which is exercised by one state. So after the ending of Cold War in 1991, with the collapse of Soviet Union तो and disintegration of USSR, तो USA जो थी ना, it emerged as a sole hegemonic power. Anyhow, I hope your concepts got cleared about these key terms, which are very important in understanding and studying the concepts of World War. So, we'll begin with the starting of the Cold War. So, let's begin. The beginning of the Cold War. So, after World War II, there was a new kind of a war because countries fought this war with words and ideas but not weapons. There was no armed conflict. Even though the Soviets and US they worked together in World War II, but later their beliefs drove them apart, and this was known as the beginning of the Cold War. So, the Cold War was a period of intense hostility between the US and the USSR that stopped just short of actual war. क्योंकि सिचुएशन इतनी इमेंस हो गई थी ना दैट there was a fear of starting of the third world war. So this cold war lasted from 1945 to 1989 to or 1990 till the disintegration of USSR into different several blocks. तब फिर अभी during the second world war USSR था because there's a big difference between Russia and USSR. सोवियत यूनियन जो था ना वो सोवियत यूनियन था टिल द कोल्ड वॉर, लेकिन उसके बाद व्हेन इट लेड टू द डिसइंटीग्रेशन ऑफ सोवियत यूनियन बाद में फिर रशिया बना था एंड और जो स्मॉल स्टेट्स थे दे गॉट इंडिपेंडेंस. So, what was Cold War? It was a state of geopolitical tensions after the end of World War II. A Cold War is a state of conflict between nations that are not involved directly, but like they are not involved directly through military actions, but they some sort of pursue actions primarily through economic and political actions. ठीक है, ideological differences होते हैं स्टेट्स के थे उस टाइम कोल्ड वॉर के टाइम पे यूएसए और यूएसएसआर के. सो दे बेसिकली दे परसू दोज एक्शंस या एक्ट्स ऑफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स थ्रू सरोगेट्स. अब जो सरोगेट्स है ना दे आर टिपिकली द स्टेट्स दैट आर सैटेलाइट्स. ये टर्म कोल्ड वॉर में इस्तेमाल हुआ था कि यूएसएसआर एंड इट्स सैटेलाइट स्टेट्स. सो सैटेलाइट स्टेट्स they are the conflicting nations, like nations allied to them under their political influence. ठीक है, like USSR था, उसने जो ईस्टर्न पार्ट पे जितना भी अपना होल्ड रखा था, जितना भी उसकी हिजमनी थी, दैट वाज अंडर यूएसएसआर. और यूएसए जो था, जितना उसका नाटो का अलायंस था, वो उसकी हिजमनी के अंदर था. सो दैट वाज द यूएसएसआर एंड इट्स allies, its satellite states. So country that is formally independent but under heavy political economic influence or controlled by another state. This term is used mainly to refer the Central and Eastern European countries during the Cold War, who were the satellite states under the hegemony of the Soviet Union. So the Soviet satellite states were Poland, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria. The part of East Germany was under the hegemony of Soviet Union. Yugoslavia था, Albania था. So these were the satellite states of USSR. So Cold War was basically a competition between the capitalism and communism to become the dominant global doctrine. ठीक है, it was a political struggle between the democratic and communist nations of the world following the World War II, because USA was leading the democratic nations and USSR was leading the communist nations. ठीक है, तो ये इस तरह दिस वॉज ऑल अबाउट द कोल्ड वॉर. तो ये जो मिलिट्री टेंशन्स थे बिटवीन द वेस्टर्न ब्लॉक, ये एक तरफ पे वेस्टर्न पार्ट था, दूसरी तरफ ईस्टर्न पार्ट था, क्योंकि जर्मनी को बल्कि बेसिकली पूरे यूरोप को डिवाइड कर दिया था, बिकॉज जर्मनी इज़ इन बिटवीन यूरोप, ठीक है। तो एक वो थी आयरन कर्टन था, दैट वाज काइंड ऑफ एन इमेजिनरी बाउंड्री के टू डिवाइड दिस यूरोप बिटवीन द ईस्टर्न एंड द वेस्टर्न पार्ट्स, ठीक है। सो then the eastern bloc was dominated by the Soviet Union along the Warsaw Pact. अब जो जितना सोवियत यूनियन के अलाइज थे ये वर्सा पैक्ट था, और यूएसए के जितने अलाइज थे दैट वाज द नाटो, ठीक है। तो दिस वाज लाइक the USA and USSR, they were the two superpowers with profound economic and political differences. तो ये इस तरह था, ठीक है। So this was Cold War. So this marks the end of this part, and we'll meet in the next part, which will be the part 2. In other parts, we'll be studying the characteristics of Cold War, the reasons behind, the causes behind the Cold War, the introduction, its historical overview, and why the USA's policies were to combat USSR's growing influence, and what events then led to the ending of the Cold War, and what was the importance of Berlin blockade, and what were the theories and political philosophies concerning Cold War era and the post Cold War era. So we'll be studying these in very detail. This topic Cold War would be completed in series because that's a detailed one and should be very elaborately explained. So I hope you like the video. Thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos, then please hit the subscribe button. So stay connected. I'll be soon uploading the other parts of the topic. So Allah Hafiz, bye.